Welcome to Challenging the Status Quo podcast, Season 2, brought to you by Digital Savages, with your host, Amir Sabirovic. On the previous episode of Challenging the Status Quo, our guest and challenger was Ron Immink, entrepreneur, writer, author, and public speaker at Ron Immink. And here's a short part of our conversation.
You can go fuck off because we have a mortgage to pay. There's absolutely no way we're going down the road of starting your own business. And the other thing is, a friend of mine went from starting his company to fundraising, to scaling, to building a global company and then selling it. And we were in a taxi and we were out for the night. And in the taxi he said, you know what, on hindsight, it cost me my health, because he literally was starting to walk his back was completely because of the stress. He had issues with his kids. He had issues in his relationship.
Ron has always followed his heart, and it guided him to fantastic places. The future is not linear, and entrepreneurship is about predicting the future. Realize it's not so much about what you have, but how much you need. Distracting yourself from societal greed. And don't worry too much, because in the end, everything works out. There is always much more going on in your head than present in reality. Did you enjoy our interview with Ron? Well, now we can tune into the story of our following guest. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Challenging the Status Quo. Today, our guest and challenger is Anne Maartje Oud. She is a behavioral expert, trainer, advisor, guest speaker, and chairperson in structured nonverbal communication and owner of the Behavior Company. And let's hear her story. Welcome, Maartje. Awesome to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. And let's I give you permission to call me Anne, because it's such a tongue twister. So just call me Anne, that will be fine.
Okay, Anne, from now on.
From now on.
Great to have you on the show. And of course, you expect this question and you have listened to the podcast. So can you tell us your journey and what your background is and how you got where you are right now?
Yes, I will. But thank you so much for inviting me. I really love your podcast. So many different people, so many different stories. And I'm honored to share mine. It's always like, where are you now? And also what is ahead? You know, that's the journey. That's the question. My background is I studied dramatic expressions through verbal and physical behavior at the Academy of Arts. And what was really interesting, that's all focused on art and performing. But in my last year, I was asked to give a workshop about stage presence for bank directors. So it was all about numbers, and they were very focused on, well, how can we say this is the financial world, and less focused on their own behavior. So at that point, I was allowed to share knowledge about nonverbal communication and stage presence. And I was so astounded that they didn't know anything about this, and they were asking questions all the time. And then what happened is something clicked with me. This is my journey. I don't want to be in the world of performing arts. I don't want to be a director, because, you know, that is fantastic. But I felt that my challenge was to go to the business world, so to say, and to help people to perform better in all its journey and all the multiple things you can do with that. And that's what I focused on. So I studied other things on the side. I went to thousands of books, so to say, and also talked to a lot of people. And I would say I'm still learning. So yeah, that's my background in short.
So given your background and the switch that you have made, what is your personal definition of success? And can you describe the feeling behind it?
Well, the personal definition of success, I think I'm struggling with that, because when you talk about success, what you feel can be very different. So sometimes I feel very successful just helping one person with a tiny little thing. And sometimes I feel very successful if I have this seminar that I present, you know, with 300 international guests. That also feels like success. But for me, it's very important that I feel that I contribute to something, that something happens in my journey. and I hope also in the journey and life of others. So if I can just nudge somebody a little bit, when I make them aware of their behavior, or when they ask questions, they have a difficult situation and they say, well, what can I do? And I can actually help them with that. And then afterwards they say, oh, this was helpful. This was actually what I needed. That feels like success. And how that feels is rewarding. And yeah, you can't see my smile, but that's how it feels. It's very, very rewarding to see people grow, but that you're allowed to be part of their journey and to help them with that journey.
Yeah, and it's paying it forward, as if you may. It's not like you're looking at the financial situation or that you're gaining, but actually the fact that you're helping somebody grow. That is a satisfaction that you get from it.
Yes, definitely. And it doesn't mean, because some people say, oh, I don't have to be paid for my job. Oh, that is a factor, of course. And I'm very fortunate that I get paid for what I do. But it's so amazing to do this. So that it's a different factor. And you see it in companies as well. I coach people, or I help people one-on-one in very high-end companies. They earn a lot of money, and you might consider that they are successful. But when you talk about their journey and how they feel and how they have developed themselves in their life, they really come to the conclusion, this is not what I want. This is not the behavior that I want to show towards my team. This is not the behavior I want to show towards myself. So then officially you could say, yes, that's successful. But I don't rate that as successful.
So that's the definition of success, which was implemented by society. What is success? So this is also why I find it very important. I believe success evolves. Like throughout your life, you change some things, how you measure success, but it doesn't have to be quantified in money or a position. I think it's the feeling behind it, which is much more important than how the world look at you. It's more important how you look at yourself.
Exactly. And I think luckily it is changing in the world now. I think in the old days, it was much more like, how much money do you make? What's your status, so to say, or how, where do you live? And I think there's much more awareness in society that that's not success. And we don't, of course you need money to survive but it's a less of an important thing, I think, more and more with people, taking in mind that, of course, this awful pandemic has done very horrendous things with the economy, and mostly, of course, with people's health. And then you also define success in a different way, I guess. Being healthy.
It's a funny thing that we need a crisis to start behaving human.
Well, I hope we were already behaving in a human way. But I think the crisis is more and more is making us aware of things. So, yeah, but it's really it's confrontational for a lot of people. Like, what does this crisis do for me personally? But also globally, of course. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at the world. Coming a bit depressive now.
No. It's only positive. So when I have the strategic sessions that, and we're talking about strategy, I take now 3 components into the discussion. One is the technological impact of the society. The other is what are the global trends, right? But the third one is the human trends.
Yes.
And human trend is much more that given the current situation, people have paused and they have started to think about, what am I doing with my life?
Exactly.
Where am I spending my time on? This does not fulfill me. So fulfillment and some kind of spiritual elevation, I think that is something that will be much more elevated within the current society than it's present today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. For me, it's all about self-reflection. You see so many people, and I'm more of the literally day-to-day work where people are realizing that they're not effective, those kind of things. So, but finding out why you're not effective means you have to self-reflect. So it means you have to pause in a way. And that has happened now. So a lot of people did pause or are obligated to pause and look at literally what is my job? Is this what I want to do? If they're still lucky to have this job, of course. But yeah, self-awareness, self-reflection, those kind of things. I think the pandemic helped with that for a lot of people.
And where do you stand? My belief is that this has been explained 2,000 years ago when the ancient philosophers and Stoics were born, right? Do you think that we forgot too much about them? In our kind of going back to that ancient philosophy, ancient knowledge, like, be happy with yourself and then don't take any opinion for granted. All these quotes that are flying around nowadays from Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and other Zeno, other philosophers. Have we forgot too much about them? Self-reflection is something that is embedded into Stoicism, right?
Yes. Maybe we didn't forget it, but maybe we didn't take the time to do something with it. Because when you talk to people, they kind of know. They usually say like, oh, I should do this, or oh, what if? And they have these dreams about what they initially thought of in life. So I don't know if they forget or if we've forgotten all about this, but maybe we forgot how to act upon it. So literally the behavior again, like what to do when you have certain feelings or certain thoughts. So I think we still think about it, but maybe now more and more we realize that then you should also act upon it.
We lack execution.
Yes, that would be a very good summary. We lack execution. Yeah, but it's hard for people to do that. It's scary because you go to, as you speak to all these people on your podcast, and everybody has a journey. But before you know it, you're on a path, you're on this journey, and you really have to be aware, like, is this what I want to do? And then I don't mean just the job you've chosen, but literally, like, is this who I want to be? Is this the person that I am? Is this how I want to spend my time? But that means you have to be aware and you have to self-reflect. And if you don't take the time to do that, then it's harder. So yeah. I
have a very rigid opinion about this, that actually it's not the fault of a person themselves, but the society designs like this, right? You're from elementary school, you're getting the thoughts of, you have to listen to the professor, what he has to his view on the world. And that's kind of representing how it is in a business, right? You have a director and he has something to say, and then you go execute. And then when you're moving through life, you get models from the university, and these are the models. There is no room for others. These are the models how you should think or assess situations. And when you start working, you get this, okay, I should get a house, I should get married, I should get a dog or a cat, I should, it's a 9-to-5 mentality, and everybody's cheering when they go and retire. While the life has passed, right? You don't know how many years you have left after you retire. What is your view on that?
If it's rigid or
no, just what's your view? This is my view that I've just shared with you. This is your view.
Yes, I understand what you mean by that. And again, I think that when we look at society, this is so broad when you say society or education, because every country, every culture, I see this when I work in different countries, it is, everybody has their own view, and it's not that this is the way people present education or this is the journey. But we do see that you have to be alert not to step into the majority system of not thinking and just doing, and before you know it, you have this cat and dog that you didn't even want to, so to say. But I think more and more it's not like that, because we have more choices individually than we've ever had before. We are more aware of what's happening globally. And I think I'm a bit more positive that people challenge themselves more and more, because they realize it's not just one journey or one path. So you could say that society plays a role in it. But I think that also with education systems, you see that's much more room for individuality. People can have mentor sessions. So I think I'm a bit more positive than you are on the outlook of society and the choices people can make. But they have, again, yeah, it's always the same. They have to be alert and aware, because it might be that if they don't challenge what's happening, then you might make choices that you later on thought, is this the choice I wanted to make?
Now, this is what I just explained to you is my reflection on what part of the society I don't want. I don't want to be a zombie. I want to do what I love to do and enjoy every day. And not celebrate Fridays.
Yes.
I don't need a weekend. That's the mode that I'm in. And I would desire for everybody to have that mode, but that's not the reality. So that's the stretch.
It's like celebrate life every day. But do you think people are not doing that? I mean, they might say it like, oh, it's Friday. Yay, we have a day off. But I also see them enjoying their Thursday afternoon or Monday morning.
It's always personal. It's always individual, as the definition of success is. But I have enjoyed conversation from multiple levels. Of course, we have societal levels from car mechanics to teachers to et cetera, et cetera. And few actually have the passion for what they're doing because when you start talking about, okay, what are you doing? What's your job? And it's not to measure, but just to really have genuine interest is what they're doing. They just say it's just a job, and I'll calculate the number of hours that you spent on just a job. It's half of your life. So if you're not enjoying it, it's kind of looks bad for you, I would say. Yeah. If you're really that 9 to 5 person that celebrates when it goes home and close the door of the office. Of course, we're not all able to do so. That's just not how the world works. I think you can achieve everything you want, but nevertheless, you have to take time, reflect, develop yourself, and choose your own road path. So I'm definitely on that. But I think there is still a very big split. I think people on higher position have more power and financial power also to enable this kind of living, like self-reflection and going through the path they actually want to do, than people in middle or lower classes.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I had a very, very interesting discussion once with somebody who said it's just a job. And for me, it was a bit sad because I love my job and I work too many hours, all those kind of things. But what he said is the best part. He said, I don't have to worry when I'm done with my job. You know, it's over. I close the door and I'm done for the evening and I don't have to think about it anymore. And it was a very mind-changing moment for me, so to say, that I'm like, yeah, actually he's right. He's not worrying at all. Then I said, but don't you want to do more? Don't you want to reflect? And he was like, no, I'm happy.
Yeah, and I accept that status quo. That's okay. It's not for everybody, and that brings me to the biggest question and the center of this interview. Actually, what do you do to challenge the status quo?
As much as possible. No, that's not true. So here's the thing: when I started my company, of course, it was in Dutch because I'm based in Amsterdam, and first my clients were all in the Netherlands, and the tagline was, this might be a bit controversial, but when you literally translate it, it is, we kick you up the butt, so to say. And everybody around me said, you can't use that as a tagline. That is way too intense, and you will not get clients if you use that. Long story short, I listened to a lot of people. I always tried to learn from it, but there was nobody who said you should use that line. And still I've chosen to use that line. And for me, it was essential to show others that if you want to challenge, the status quo and things around you, you should also really sometimes do what you think is necessary. And also for me, that line meant something more than just the line, because it had to do with nudging people. Like if you want to change something, and behavior is very difficult to change, you have to nudge people, but sometimes a bit more, well, I wouldn't say forceful, because that's not the word. But if you are very mellow and it's all okay, that doesn't work. So this is the funny thing is we changed the tagline at one point, because I thought, maybe it's not necessary in the tagline to do that, but it's necessary, to show in your behavior. And one of the things that is very important for me is the equality that I take along in projects. So I don't mind if it's a CEO or anybody else at the table. I will reflect upon their behavior. And it happens that during a session, so I give somebody feedback or I help them with their challenge, and then people come back, oh, but you said that to the CEO. Oh no, how can you say those kind of things? When the CEO came to me, oh, thank you so much. That was so helpful. So, not going into these, how can we say this, in the vision that everybody has and that everybody says, oh, you can or cannot do this. I think it's very important to take context into consideration, and you always have to be alert and be aware. But don't be too afraid to, challenge the status quo.
So you don't want frame behavior. You want behavior it should be. So giving rigid feedback, or actually the brutal, crude feedback, I would say. That's not something that they say everybody wants the truth and then they call you an a-hole. Once you're finished with telling the truth, it's, being able to handle the truth. That's another thing. And maybe because people are afraid of the reaction, that actually they don't tell what they really want to say, but they stay within that frame of comfort and status quo.
Yeah, and then it's not helpful at all, because they say something maybe, but then it's very vague and they don't get across what they actually want to say. And then the feedback, not just feedback, it's also what is happening in a team, or why didn't they meet the objectives they had. Then they don't fully say what they want to say. And then it becomes diffuse, and then the manager doesn't know what to do, or the client is confused. So it doesn't have to be brutal. I think it should be effective and helpful and constructive, all those kind of things. But it doesn't help to sugarcoat it by not saying anything or saying like half of it. So I always try to challenge others when they say, oh, I thought this during the meeting, or my manager doesn't do this. And then I tell them, did you speak up? Did you tell your manager what you need? When they say no, it's very confusing, because that poor manager doesn't know what's going on, but they still judge him or her on the fact that the manager doesn't take action. So for me, that is very confusing in a way. And I always say, but why didn't you tell them? And if they have reasons, sometimes they're afraid, or that wasn't the moment, or they don't know how to speak up, well, then you help them to, for instance, how do you speak up in a meeting? So I help them with the behavior, how they can grab the attention, or how can they articulate themselves during a meeting. And then slowly it starts to change.
Do you think that we actually are more opinionating than asking questions if we don't understand something or have an opinion on it?
Depends on the culture, I would say. I think yes. And yes and no. So I think everybody's opinionated, myself included. You see that some cultures really have this fantastic behavior of asking questions and to find out more before they judge anything, before they say anything. But in essence, I think when you realize what's happening to yourself, so you're in a situation, it doesn't matter which situation, you realize what's happening. You feel it in your body, you show it in your nonverbal communication. So there is opinion there already, so to say. It happens very quickly, you cannot hide it. We say that the body shows what the mind thinks, or what the mind believes or says. So it's much, much quicker than people think. And then it's a very helpful, it's very helpful to verbalize it in a way that other people understand what you're thinking or what your opinion is, and not to be opinionated, like, oh, this is what should happen, or that is what should happen, because again, then you will put people off because you're so, well, maybe even aggressive or so opinionated that they don't listen to you. But I think everybody, when something happens, it has its effect on you.
I agree with you totally. And I think that actually our perspective or perception of the item or subject and our emotional state are closely tied to. So if you're total negative for what reason ever, or you're always negative, then I can bring you the best news in the world and you will find a way to pour your negative perception on it, and it will be the worst thing ever. Or other way around, somebody can bring the worst news in the world, but if you're over enthusiastic and positive, you will be able to shift that into positive way of thinking. There is a gray area there, and I think asking question is the best way to relieve yourself of any kind of guarded opinion before you really understand the matter.
Yes, to investigate the story behind what the other person said, even if they are, for instance, if they're very negative. And I'm always curious, especially in teams, when people working together, they say, oh, that person is always very negative. And you could judge that behavior, but much more interesting is, why would this person do this? And then I don't mean like therapy, what's the reason behind that behavior, like his whole background, but more, why is that person doing this in this team at this moment? Why is he or she always the negative, or that person always so negative? And when you ask those kind of questions, well, this is very interesting when I work with teams. So somebody says, yeah, but the negative points will not be vocalized if that person doesn't say it. And then it becomes interesting. So you're all very positive and that person is negative. So what if you guys become a bit more critical and negative, and what would that effect be? And you see when they change behavior, that person starts to become a bit more positive. It's very intriguing to see the effect on change in behavior, but you have to know why that person is doing it. So asking questions, as you said, is very, very important.
Hey, and Anne, did you have in your career your biggest failure or biggest learning moment? What is there? Where did you bump your head against?
Yeah, well, when you say failure, it's like, no. Well, the funny thing is, how do you define things? And I don't believe in failure in a way, but there are important moments where I thought, okay, this is interesting, and I thought I wanted to share a story with you because it had to do with my actually challenging the status quo afterwards. So I was 21. I started working in this business, so to say. And I was very fortunate to present an international seminar, chess tournament, actually. And of course, I was very nervous, international guests, really fantastic. And I needed to present it and open the whole tournament, so to say. Prepared it with a speech, you memorize it. And it was also a welcome for the mayor, who after I would have welcomed everybody, he would get up to the stage and say everything. So long story short, I prepared, and 5 minutes beforehand, maybe it was 10 minutes beforehand, somebody looked at the presentation that I prepared, because I still wrote it down in those days. And that person said, that's not the right name of the mayor. You have to add this word. So in Dutch, it's, so you have van. So you can say this is Janssen, or you can say van Janssen. So I will not say the mayor's name, but that person said I needed to add a word. I did. So I presented this whole thing that I rehearsed with a different name that I rehearsed because I listened to that person 10 minutes before I went on stage. The horror, because non-verbally, I saw a lot of things happening during that welcome moment, but I didn't know what it was. And I came off stage and somebody said, you used the wrong name. And I remember this so vividly. The floor opened up in my mind. I'm like, no, what did I do? This is my biggest failure ever. The funny part was it was the best learning moment ever, because after that, I thought, you have rehearsed this, you prepared this. You shouldn't listen to somebody 10 minutes up front that it's not the right name, that, you can trust yourself in your preparation. But, I was very young at that time. So what I took from that is always, yes, you should listen to people because you can get a lot of information. You will learn from them, but make sure that you also know what you know and stick with that.
Fact check.
And I did the fact check. So I still don't know why the person was very good at influencing me at that moment. That's not the right name. Yeah, fact check. Yeah, but also trust in yourself, I think. With the mayor or that person?
Yeah, no, that person that corrected you.
No, and that was even weird because that person was I didn't even met that person afterwards. It's also like, who says it to you? Of course, in this case, it was, you could say, a random person. If it's somebody from that organization and knows everything about it, but literally it was somebody who just saw it.
What inspires you, Anne?
Life. And well, that's a very broad question. To be honest, a lot inspires me. For instance, this is very inspirational. I really like our talk. It's different maybe than we thought it would be. There's all these kind of different things we talk about. People inspire me. So many things. Even food can inspire me, or art or music or those kind of things. But you have to be open.
Then you answered it correctly. From life inspires you because all of those that you just described actually fit in life perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all
enjoying
there. Enjoying life, yes. But to be honest, also when you're not enjoying this was difficult, and it's also a journey for me. Like if you're, even if it's not enjoying life, you can still be inspired by it. So even in the moments where I feel challenged, or for instance, these days, I don't think it's not always that I'm enjoying myself, but still then I'm inspired, like, oh, what's happening and why are people affected by this so much? Also in their mind, and what's happening with the brain. And, so even when you're not enjoying life, I'm still inspired by the fact that at that moment, I might not enjoy it.
Always finding the right source to be happy.
Is that for you the case? You always.
No, I'm just reflecting what you just said. I'm always reflecting on the things that are external factors and internal factors. So I do everything that is within my power to actually enjoy every moment that I go through. And external factors, I can worry about them. I can break my head about it, but that's not going to change. So for me, the approach is to abolish everything that I cannot influence, that is out of my power, and only to do what I can do to enjoy life. That's my approach towards it. Yeah,
definitely enjoy life. Well, I picked up on the word, did you say happy, like always being happy? I don't think that is possible.
No, I agree with you.
Okay. And this is the thing. I think that's, even if you're talking about failure, when you're always aiming for, I want to be happy, then that would feel to me as a failure, because then you're not human. And it's interesting to feel all the different emotions. Seize life. Yes, fully agree with that. But that also means maybe emotions that aren't always nice.
Yeah, and this is, I think, and this is also why I mentioned Stoicism, is actually analyzing the situation you're in and keeping your cool or calmness, whatever comes across, and accept it as a part of the life. Accept the fact that you're going to die at a certain point. Accept that things are not always as you see them. but really try to understand it. This is why I asking questions. And I don't think happiness is an illusion. It's not going to happen. It's more about how you handle things that are thrown at you, positive and negative, and how you cope with them, and enjoying that process, that learning process. Sometimes you get challenged with things that you definitely didn't see coming. But if you actually take the joy in process of, putting them or fighting them head on, not like moving them to the side and saying, well, I will deal with that later. No, like immediately.
Yeah, and then don't deal with them. Yeah.
Then you enjoy it because you resolve something. And if you put too much things off that are negative and just try to, I want to be happy. Well, that's unachievable goal.
Yeah, and it feels even fake. And at one point, for me, it's sad for people if they think, oh, I have to be happy all the time. Let me say that I'm a very happy person. So, but it's like you said, it for me, it's the inspiration in that journey and that path, and to see like, okay, if you have these moments, what can I do with it? If you analyze it and you see, oh, this is probably why that I feel that way, or oh, maybe if I can change that a bit, I would feel more happy. Yes, that's a good one, but not as a goal itself, because that actually, I see this in my business. It worries a lot of people when they are not happy, like, oh, I should be happy, or something is wrong. It's, you have to look at yourself as a human being and not as a robot, as you should. And
and I think that happiness is always tied with material goods. That when I get a better job and earn this salary, then I will be happy. If I achieve this, then I will be happy. And then you get stuck and you reach that and you say, I'm not happy, so I have to do more. And that's a never ending, it's an infinite game. You will always be chasing the moon, never being able to get there.
Never be happy. Yeah, and it's and I mean, of course we speak from a luxury, because there are a lot of people who really struggling to have a job, to get money, to actually go, how do they get food on the table? If you are at that level, when you think about Maslow, you really need basics. If you don't have the basics, that will worry you. And then of course you will strive to earn more money or to have a better security environment for your family or those kind of things. But in essence, where we work in the Western world, I think you could say that we are much more allowed to look at other things than just
money. We're at the top of the Maslow pyramid. We're a bit spoiled, so we can actually start thinking about self-elevation and spirituality and all that stuff. I definitely, if you don't have a place to sleep, you don't have a shelter, and you have nothing to eat, then everything that we are discussing right now is not even within your reach.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a legacy that you want to leave to the world?
Oh, that's it's an ego question, Amir.
Yeah, of course, you're a behavior scientist, so.
Yes, actually, that would be. For me, I love to share knowledge, but mostly I love to share the idea of action, and that people should go for what they want, but say stuff, do stuff, go for it, those kind of things. And if I can do that with one-on-one sessions, it would be great. If I can do this in a big session like I'm doing soon, that would be great. And I'm working on a book, so it would be fantastic if that would be finished one day. But in essence, I thought about this, that, this is a bit morbid, but when you die, I hope that people say, oh, when I had a conversation with her, or when I read something of her articles or those kind of things, I hope they say something something stuck with me, and hopefully it's more self-awareness, or the action that they think, oh yeah, maybe I should do something. Today I had a conversation with a client, and he said, you know what, I think I'm going to step out of my shadow. And I'm like, wow, that to me, if you talk about success, that feels successful. And I hope that that is the legacy that people might pick up on.
Yeah, you said it's an ego question, but actually your legacy is quite unselfish, I would say. It's actually that you moved somebody to change in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, that sounds better. It's true. But that would actually, if I would, that would be my legacy, my biggest dream for my legacy, that I've moved people in a way that they wanted to go for, not that I pushed them somewhere they didn't want to go, but that with their reflection, with their awareness, they said, yes, I'm going to go for that. And not the challenge, as we said, in higher in the organization, but this is what I want to do to become more effective as a human.
Better version of themselves.
Yes, better version of themselves.
Totally different question, but you thought it's the one coming up. If I would give you the possibility to dine with 3 people, alive or dead, or the opportunity to live in 3 time periods of choice, which ones would it be and why?
100%, 1000% the dinner.
You're craving for that.
I'm craving for dining out. No, but seriously, I love that question. It's because sometimes you talk about who would you want to meet, but what I love about your question is that it defines in a way, like, what would you aim for, different timing, and you could go somewhere, or 3 people. And for me, it was very clear, apart from the dining, I want to meet up with people and I want to listen to their story. And I even thought of the 3 people, if you want to know, because that would be
definitely. Yeah. And why those 3 people, of course?
And why those 3 people? Well, the more the merrier. But what is nice when you have a conversation with 3 is that you can learn from each other and you can ask questions, as we talked about before. So for me, there would be 3 people that I would really love to have on that dinner table. One being deceased, sadly, that would be Jim Henson, and he's the creator of the Muppets and many, many, many other shows. Now, it's not that I'm a very big Muppet fan, so to say, but the fact that he created this whole new world, also with the movie Labyrinth and other movies as well, The Dark Crystal, for instance, he had the capability of creating whole new worlds. But he also is the creator of Sesame Street, which is an educational program that started a very, very long time ago. And the fact that he took that concept and created everything, I would love to hear how he did that, how he figured that out, and also how he is now, so to say. Yeah, and I would also love to talk to Joe Navarro, who's also my mentor. So fantastic writer. He has written 14 books. New book is coming up on being exceptional. It's called Be Exceptional. And he's very inspirational. He has read so many books. He has so much knowledge. It's really unbelievable. And I'm very, very fortunate that he's my mentor, and he helps me to gain more knowledge and to think about humans in a different way. Sometimes it's really, really inspirational. And also I would love to talk to Oprah Winfrey. So she has to be at the table as well. And a lot of people understand, Oprah Winfrey, for me, she's fantastic. The journey she went through, the challenges she had, and is still out there. It's fantastic. I would love to have her at the dining table.
Well, for the first one, I know it's not possible unless you go to spiritual people that can talk with ghosts. But 2 are depending on your action, I would say. And it was awesome talking to you. Now, I have to ask you to summarize everything that you have said.
Oh, way too much. We went all over the place.
No. I need your 2 cents. What is your key takeaway for our listeners?
I would love it if they take some more time to self-reflect on their behavior, not just the goals in life, because that's a broad question. It's really difficult, but just to reflect on themselves. If something is not working the way I want to, if I don't feel confident, if I have a difficult conversation, what is the behavior that I show? What is the behavior that the other people show? And if they, summarize, please, people, be more self-aware.
I think that's a beautiful key takeaway. And I hope to read that in your book. When is it coming out?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Work in progress.
We'll just have to wait for it. I thought maybe you want to share the title with it, but everything in time.
Thank you so much.
And it was great talking to you. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the luck in your future endeavors, business, and everything that you want to do.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, keep on doing. That could also be the tagline. Keep on doing. Well, thank you so much. And again, it was I'm really honored that you would ask all these questions with all the lovely people you speak. And thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you again. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for listening, dear ladies and gentlemen. This was Anne Maartje Oud. Next week, our guest and challenger of the status quo is Barbara Schouten, transformation and empowerment coach for ambitious aliens, sensitive leaders, and intuitive empaths. And here's a short part of our conversation.
Yes, indeed. What you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. And especially when sharing things on LinkedIn, Facebook is a little bit more accepting of sharing authentic things, but especially LinkedIn, which is a more business network, it was frowned upon to share things that was a tearjerker or that actually showed real honest emotion. And
are you curious about the rest of Saskia's story? Tune in next week to learn all about her life journey, but also about high sensitive persons, how to recognize if you're one, and what that means for you and the world around you. For now, this was Challenging the Status Quo podcast, season 2, with your host Amir Sabirovic. Stay safe and healthy, and until next week, ciao!